Andrew, it's Thursday morning. How you doing, little buddy?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I love intros. Let's take a look at the headlines. WWE has been accused of ageism by a released WWE star. 2 superstars are set to return to Monday Night Raw next week. And a New Japan Pro Wrestling title is to be defended on AEW Dynamite. We'll get there in a bit. So, as you already know, Mickie James was one of 10 superstars released by WWE a little while ago. And then it all kicked off last week after WWE returned her possessions to her in a black bin bag. They're on offer till December. Obviously there was significant controversy. WWE firing Mark Carrano as a result of that incident. And it's now been revealed that Vince McMahon personally phoned Mickie James to apologise for that happening. But she has been speaking out on numerous things on her Grown Ass Women podcast, which she co-hosts with SoCal Val and Victoria, regarding WWE's plans for her retirement and what they wanted to do there. Reports of ageism in WWE. She's spoken about how she feels that WWE discriminate against older women specifically in the company. So, Andrew, what's she been saying?
So she's been saying, on WWE wanting her to retire, she said, I kept feeling these things of, we want you to retire. We want you to be an agent. It was what they wanted for me. It wasn't that I wasn't grateful for those opportunities, but at the same time, I see the agents and what they have to deal with and go through. They don't get any of the praise or the thanks that they ever deserve. They have to deal with a lot of crap. I don't know if I could personally handle that.
I don't know why you would want Mickie James to retire, to be honest, because she can still absolutely go in the ring. She's still, she looks fantastic, obviously. So it's an odd thing that they would push for her to retire. It's cool that they think enough of her that they would transition her into an agent producer role. That's a big compliment in and of itself. But I don't know why you wouldn't want to use her, even if it is to primarily put over younger talent.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be the best sort of the best use for her, because she's still going to look fantastic, and she does still look fantastic. And then she gets to give to other younger superstars what she got when she was in the WWE back then as well. Absolutely. It's just a nice way to sort of come full circle with it. Yeah, I agree.
But she's spoken about the reason that she thinks this has happened, and this is where what she perceives as discrimination plays into it. And she said, I'm just disappointed as a whole with being made to feel old. And the whole ageism thing. For me, to constantly be presented as old when I'm 41 years old and every single male champion has always been my age or older and has been glorified for those reasons, as they should be. They're amazing. But why is it different for women or for me? Ageism is a real thing, and it's BS. And I think that's a really fair point. It's a weird thing in WWE where male wrestlers who go away and then come back for a little bit and they're a bit older, it's largely celebrated. I mean, obviously there are exceptions, people don't want to necessarily see Goldberg back, but that's to do with the booking, not to do with his age so much. Whereas women, they certainly have shorter careers in WWE. Traditionally, they leave the company or are released sooner, and we do see them pop up less often. Obviously, we do get the likes of Trish, Lita, and Molly. They do come back, but often not for sustained runs like we see some of the older male wrestlers.
Yeah, and I think, as we were sort of saying before, I think that would be a good thing for them to come back and put over, again, the younger talent, build something up for the younger people, because obviously, when Goldberg comes back or something like that, unless he's squashing someone, it's nice when he does come back and then someone else gets to take him out and build them up as well. That would be good for a lot of these younger wrestlers on the roster right now. And why they don't do that, I don't know, because they're still fantastic. Trish can still go, Lita can still go. There's so many amazing women's wrestlers, and it's just, I don't know why they don't use them more.
I agree. A really interesting one that she mentioned is that she pitched an all-female brand. She said, there was a moment where I said, what if we do an all-female brand? I could help lead that up and have an awesome team of women. We have the talent, tools, and facilities. We have everything we need. It would really help all the girls who aren't getting television time. I poo you not. This one person says to me, they're never going to do it, ever. Women's wrestling doesn't make money. Evolution was the lowest rated pay-per-view ever in WWE. I get what you're trying to do, but I don't understand why you're fighting so hard for it. You should play the card you're dealt and see if there's a way to incorporate that within a show rather than fight for it to be on its own show. That must be a horrible, very disheartening thing to hear for an all-time women's wrestling great, an all-time wrestling great, obviously. She also said, spoke about Mark Carano as well, saying that she actually feels for him a little bit. She said, I know it wasn't a direct thing, like, hey, this is what we think of you. I empathise with Mark and feel bad that he's taking the full brunt. It sucks. But I guarantee his pension package is probably more than what I got paid in my last run in WWE. So I don't feel that bad. And just a final note on this before we move on. What Vince McMahon said to her when he made that call. I'm not saying that's from Vince because he's always been respectful to me, referring to the trash bag itself. He called me on the phone to apologise for this incident and to let me know that this isn't what he thought of me. I tagged Vince, this is on Twitter, because he needed to know. There's a lot of stuff that happens under his nose that he's oblivious to because he's running a multi-billion-dollar company. I think that's a really fair point as well. It's obviously that Vince wasn't directly involved with that, and when you're managing hundreds and hundreds of people at the upper level, obviously there are other managers within the company, you're not going to know everything that goes on. And hey, it certainly worked. Vince called her direct, Stephanie publicly tweeting an apology, Triple H doing the same. And whatever Mickie does next, hope she's really happy doing it, whether it is going on to do sort of more behind the scenes stuff, but it sounds like her heart is still very much in the ring.
Yes.
Moving on. What a segue.
Yes. Gee, bloody hell.
Moving on. We have got, leave that in, Owen. We have got the returns rather, of two WWE superstars, two Raw stars, who will be hitting our screens once again. They're back from partying in Nigeria. You know who I'm talking about. They're the Raw Tag Team Champions, AJ Styles and Omos, announcing yesterday that they will indeed be back on Raw next week. Are you buzzing?
I'm buzzing because it was a good match. I enjoyed that match at WrestleMania.
I just want to see Omos wrestle again. Keep him as a special. Sorry, I've interrupted you there, mate.
No, it's all right.
Keep him as a special attraction. Just have him wrestle on the odd pay-per-view, and I'm because. It's something that if they start having him wrestle on Raw, it could get old fairly quickly, I would say. But have him just pop up on the big uns, and I loved it. I thought it was great, man.
I mean, his enthusiasm for tagging, unbelievable. When he was just stood on the apron, just like, oh, come on, pal. He could literally, stand at his corner, and he could just reach out, and he'd be touching Xavier Woods' head if he wanted to. But he didn't even bother. But fair enough, pal. He added some drama to it. I liked it. I think he's great, and I think both as like comedic value and also him just being a big brutish monster. Like I think those two things kind of like blend well for him. I kind of like that.
I agree, and I think his chemistry with AJ, the sort of little and large original odd couple thing, I just find it very, very entertaining. They're one of my favourite parts of Raw now, actually, and obviously we've not seen them on there for a little bit, so it'd be good to see them back, and hopefully they improve that awful show. Next up, WWE suspended referee Drake Wirtz earlier this year. This is quite a complicated story, I guess. So he has become notorious for sharing some pretty extreme views. He's had a Parler, the social media account that is largely populated by far-right users, and following the likes of Tommy Robinson, the Proud Boys, and Fightful Select revealing that he was suspended earlier this year and barred from entering the Capitol Wrestling Center. Due to the fact that WWE were horrified after reading an article that David Bixenspan put out highlighting some of his views and his past behavior. He hit the headlines yesterday because he was on a Zoom call in tears about it was framed as a child trafficking debate, but it was to me at least it appeared a way to push an anti-mask agenda. And he was very very upset in that call, but also he's somebody that has been known to spread confirmed misinformation. And I can totally understand why WWE would be very, very upset when you've got your superstars doing video packages, doing interviews about the importance of getting your jab, of taking it seriously, of wearing your mask, all these things that you should be doing, obviously. And then you've got one of your referees, even if they're not a prominent on-screen talent, whatever you want to call it, even if they're not like a character. When that is contradicting your corporate values, I can understand why they'd be bothered. There were a few tweets floating around yesterday from NXT officials as well, essentially hinting at the fact that it was all kicking off a little bit. So wouldn't be surprised if we give you a pretty big update on Drake Wirtz in the coming days or even hours. So we will keep you updated on that. Speaking of NXT, there's been a significant drop in viewers, Andrew. What's happened?
Oh my goodness. So after 2 weeks of high viewership, NXT saw a big drop on Tuesday night, with nearly 100,000 less people tuning in. So according to Showbuzz Daily, an average of 744,000 people tuned in this week, and that is down from 841,000 from last week. So there we go.
I guess you're gonna get that. It's been a couple of weeks on the new night and everything, and hype was more there following Takeover, the 2-night Takeover, Stand and Deliver. So I don't think it's too surprising that we'd see it drop. It is a fairly significant drop, but it's not really damaging.
No.
And it's a really good show. It's a really good show. And so we'll keep you updated there as well. And finally, a New Japan Pro Wrestling title is going to be defended on AEW Dynamite. And my son Andrew is going to tell you more right now.
So the IWGP United... Thanks, Dad. IWGP United States Champion Jon Moxley is going to defend his championship against New Japan legend Yuji Nagata on the May 12th episode of AEW Dynamite, Adam. Ooh.
Oh, he's held that belt for almost 500 days now.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. It's his second reign with the belt. And he handpicked Nagata for the match. And you know what? It's really cool. It's a good bit of cross-promotion. I think it's pretty likely that Moxley's going to retain there.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a way of getting the belt back to Japan, just because he's a slightly older gentleman. Yuji Nagata is probably, if he does pick up the win, I don't see him holding that belt for too long. Probably a transitional champion. But maybe it's a way of getting it back to Japan. Who knows? But it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Like, the guy can still strike pretty hard. He locks them submissions in right nice, Adam. It really does. But I think it'll be good.
You're a big Yuji Nagata fan,
I love him. Yes, yeah, I love him so much. When you get striky boys... When you get striky boys like Jon Moxley and Yuji Nagata, go on then, get them together. Just let them kiss each other with forearms and stuff. Be nice.
Like it. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Andrew's going to be doing commentary for that particular event, so do tune in. That's your lot. I'm on form this morning, Andrew. I'm on form. We both are. It's fine. All the best. Take care. Plug in the content. See you later. Intros.